Coming up, Governor Beshear may be preparing to take new steps on medical marijuana.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. More Americans want recreational marijuana to be legalized in their states. CBS News did a recent poll on the issue, and that push continues here in Kentucky with different groups advocating for a change. Now even the governor is hinting he's ready to do more on the issue, especially with medical marijuana. Grayson Passmore reports.
Now, this is the will of the people. I hope that the legislative branch will listen to it. If not, we're going to explore executive options.
A strong message from Governor Andy Beshear last Monday after the bill that could have legalized medical marijuana was killed in the Senate more than a week later. And he now promises to find a way, quote, Kentuckians can make their voices heard.
To the veteran out there suffering from PTSD, that this could provide some relief, it's time that you got what you need.
Before the governor's announcement, marijuana advocacy groups used the 420 day in Frankfort to push a bill to get marijuana possession decriminalized.
That Kentuckians are crying out for cannabis reform, for decriminalizing marijuana. Yet, this body adjourned without doing the people's business.
This group claims lawmakers were wrapped up with other marijuana matters and couldn't get to the issue. While the medical marijuana bill wasn't heard before a Senate committee, Senate President Robert Stiver says he's not against it, but says he thought the study sizes being used were too small.
And then that would give us the impetus to come back maybe within a year and say this is what marijuana could be used for or not be used for.
Although the legislative session is over, their fight continues the night before some type of announcement from the governor.
But we're going to look at what legal options are out there.
And that was Grayson Passmore reporting. Now, Governor Beshear says tomorrow he will be announcing steps to move the conversation forward and how Kentuckians can make their voices heard. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. On Tuesday, Knox County Judge Executive Mike Mitchell announced that a sports complex is set to be built, with construction beginning as soon as late summer. The sports complex will be located less than half a mile from US 25E and will span across more than 100 acres. The complex will include baseball, softball, and soccer fields, a tennis court, an amphitheater, a sensory playground, and even a non-motorized boat ramp to access the Cumberland River.
Anytime in our area, if you can have a facility that will draw people in from other areas, I think that's definitely an added benefit. So really, I think it can branch out and be beneficial not only to Knox County but also to our entire southeastern Kentucky area.
Knox County Judge Executive Mike Mitchell adds that they could not have found a better spot for the complex, adding that the area is centrally located in the county and very convenient for everyone to access. Kentucky Transportation Cabinet officials are urging drivers to follow road closed signs. They say people have been moving signs and barriers on Kentucky 713 in Menifee County, for example. The road is closed due to a major culvert repair below the road. They say you could be responsible for damage on your car if something happens.
I heard from my counterpart in Paducah that they were issuing some fines. The judicial system was issuing some fines. People were being cited for it.
There's no word yet on when Kentucky 713 could reopen because the work is extensive.
Continuing to watch clouds filter into the region tonight, and eventually that will lead to the increase in shower chances as we head late tonight and into the morning hours on our Thursday. Outside right now, we're all dry. High-Nub camera UVA-wise, we sit at 55. We will continue to see those temperatures drop slowly very slowly with the clouds we have in place. I-64 at Moorhead, all is quiet there. We managed warm temperatures today. 70s around the region, just about. Warm spot was Monticello at 74. Wise never got quite into those mid-60s, our cool spot at 64. Temperatures remain in the low to middle 60s outside right now. We will eventually drop those into the 50s in many spots, but it will remain mild overnight. You see those showers starting to work into the Commonwealth for the most part. They're not quite making much progress east of Interstate 65 at the moment. We just don't have any moisture in the air, but eventually we'll get the air a little bit more moist, and we're in the mid-50s overnight as showers move in. I'll have the details on when they move out and when 80s move in to take their place coming up in just a bit. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. With gas prices near record highs, the driving population and businesses alike are struggling to make ends meet as industry leaders across the country are working to find solutions to lower the price at the pump. WYMT Washington News Bureau reporter Brendan Cullerton has the story.
Hitting the road has become more expensive for many businesses, especially moving companies like OMX.
We travel a lot. Trucks eat a lot of gas.
OMX Vice President Jim Durfee says increasing fuel cost could eventually result in businesses cutting employee wages or even jobs.
The biggest overhead is our building, and the second is our employee cost. We can't get rid of the building. We finally have to institute a fuel surcharge.
For now, OMX is adjusting the same way many other companies have by passing the price to customers. The American Petroleum Institute says gasoline prices are governed by simple supply and demand. They say if the United States starts producing more oil, gas prices at the pump will decrease.
It's important that we produce more energy here in the United States.
API says the Texas Permian Basin is doing just that, currently producing more oil than anywhere else in the United States. Texas Congressman August Pfluger says the Permian Basin's success is a result of innovation and hard work.
They've stepped up even with less rigs and less people. The innovation has allowed the production to exceed 5 million barrels a day.
But API says there are limits to how much oil production can expand, partially due to supply chain issues.
You're seeing difficulty getting frac sand, so sand to be able to frac wells.
API says the U.S. still has not been able to reach the oil production scene before the COVID pandemic began. In Washington, I'm Brendan Cullerton.
The Biden administration has also recently lifted the ban on certain ethanol-blended fuel in attempts to lower gas prices. New tonight, the Department of Justice has appealed a ruling by a federal judge that struck down a public transportation mask mandate. That ruling came down on Monday. Several airlines and airports announced masks would no longer be required. The DOJ did not immediately announce the appeal, instead waiting for input from the CDC. The case will now head to appeals court. The Paintsville-Johnson County Chamber of Commerce hosted its 2022 legislative breakfast today, discussing this year's General Assembly. Senator Philip Wheeler and Representative Bobby McCool took the stage as locals grabbed breakfast, chatting over coffee about the highlights from the session. With topics from road funding to coal severance money, Wheeler says it's a nice way to touch base with those who may not have been following everything that was happening in Frankfort.
You know, everybody has their own issue, and they may not be focused on other things as well. So I think after the session's over, coming to events like this chamber meeting is a way to bring out more of what we do to a broader spectrum of folks.
Chamber officials say hosting this type of forum gives them a way to make sure local leaders and business owners are connected with legislation efforts from across the Commonwealth. People in Moorhead are on high alert tonight after threatening messages circulated around the city. Law enforcement there says a swatting call was made, followed by emails they believe came from that same caller. Shelby Lofton talked to the Rowan County Sheriff about the disturbing messages and how his department is responding.
A usually quiet college town is on high alert.
If somebody
thinks it's funny to cause an emergency response and put people's lives in danger.
Rowan County Sheriff Matt Sparks says a 911 call sparked concern.
Dispatcher, when they called me originally, said it sounds like it's someone using a machine to change their voice.
A caller claimed to have killed their family, but officers found no evidence at the address they provided. Then came the emails.
And now he was going to go to Morehead State and start shooting people, and he was going to go to St. Clair and start shooting people there, and he was going to leave a bomb. In case.
Sheriff Sparks says the hospital added security, and Morehead State officials stayed in touch with him. He says he quickly concluded this was likely a hoax and tied to previous swatting calls that were connected to online gaming.
A juvenile was on the internet, constantly on the internet, having contact with people from all over the country.
Sparks says he believes the people that team was communicating with are behind these calls.
If we can find the person responsible, I don't care where they're at, we'll go, it's a felony, so we will go get them.
He says one person's communication with anonymous, potentially dangerous people can have a widespread impact.
Know what your children are doing on the internet, who they're talking with, who they're communicating to, and don't just assume because they're on there playing games that that's all that's going on. There could be other things going on.
In Rowan County, Shelby Lofton, WKYT.
The Rowan County Sheriff's Department is asking anyone who might have information on who may be behind these swatting calls to contact them. This legislative session, lawmakers passed a bill to make swatting a felony, and the governor signed it into law. Well, folks in Pikeville are gearing up for Hillbilly Days. The festival officially kicks off tomorrow, and officials with the city of Pikeville say they are excited for the festival to return after being canceled the last 2 years. Pikeville Tourism Assistant Director Lauren McCourt said it's exciting to have the opportunity to bring people together again.
We're very thankful to be back and have the opportunity to have Hillbilly Days. And bring people together. That's like the main thing, is to bring all the hillbillies across the country together. So we're really excited.
The carnival opened a bit early at 6 o'clock this evening. Now vendors open tomorrow at 10 a.m. Our own Evan Hatter will be there at our WYMT booth near the Bureau, if you know where that is in downtown Pikeville. We've got brand new pins to give away. You can also do guess weather all 3 days. And the big concert this year is actually tomorrow night. Dustin Lynch will be in concert at the Appalachian Wireless Arena. A Kentucky man won a lawsuit against his employer over a birthday party he never wanted, and he may get nearly $500,000 as a result. Kevin Burling worked at Gravity Diagnostics in Covington for about 10 months in 2019. Because he suffers from anxiety and panic attacks, Burling asked his company not to celebrate his birthday, as it does for most employees. Burling's lawsuit says the office manager forgot his request and threw a birthday party for him anyway, which triggered a panic attack. A jury sided with Burling, awarding him $450,000 in damages, including $300,000 for mental anguish. A Tennessee death row inmate's request for clemency was denied Tuesday despite new DNA evidence that he says could help his case. 72-year-old Oscar Smith was sentenced to death for the 1989 murders of his estranged wife Judah Smith and her 2 minor sons. He was moved to death watch Monday night. Smith's legal team in a filing wrote that unknown DNA was found on the murder weapon that did not match Smith's. The state responded asking the judge to deny the order and argue that new DNA evidence does not mean Smith is innocent in the case. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is now one step closer to being extradited to the United States after a UK court ruling. A British judge ruled to move forward with the extradition process, a decision that now needs approval from UK Home Secretary Priti Patel. It comes after U.S. authorities in December 2021 won their bid to overturn a previous ruling that he should not be extradited. Now Assange can make an appeal of his own. He's wanted in the U.S. on 18 criminal charges after WikiLeaks published thousands of classified files and diplomatic cables in 2010. If convicted, he could face up to 175 years in prison. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, we'll have the latest update on the war in Ukraine.
And after a freeze warning last night, we've got high temperatures in the 80s on the way later this week. The latest is coming up next.
Here are 5 big reasons to buy a Toyota RAV4. It's the best-selling SUV.